Last week, we were looking at how to paint 6mm British line infantry from the Napoleonic period. And this week, we're going to be having a look at the movement trays which I placed them in. Now, following my big reveal a couple of weeks ago, there were questions about how to make these movement trays, and I'm going to go into that today. So without further ado, let's jump down to the workbench and let's check out how to make these.
Okay, and welcome to the workbench. So here we have a couple of the units that I've done so far and their movement trays. And the reason, if you can't quite see, these figures are on bases which can come out. And then we simply have these movement trays. Now I've got different sizes. I've got these ones which can take two 20mm by 20mm bases. And I've got these that can take three 20mm by 20mm bases. And essentially we have a detachment's worth and we have a battalion's worth. So today, as I said in the intro, we're going to have a look at making these. This question came up on some of my previous videos around this project, and I thought I would give you some information as to how to make these today. So within my project, I'm going to be having battalions, detachments, cavalry units and artillery units. And for this, I'm using different sized movement trays. And I'm starting off step one with these. Now these are made by WarBases. Essentially what you would usually get is you'd get one of these and then you'd which is 2mm thick, and then you'd get another base the same size but without the hole in the middle missing, which is also 2mm, and one would sit on top of the other, and that's how WarBases produce it. However, my concern with that is that your figures are then going to end up 2mm more off the table, and so that ultimately is going to be there about 4mm off the table, and the figure itself is only 6mm. So James Wright, very much the inspiration for this project, gave me tips on to how to make these movement trays, and we're going to go through that today. Now I'm ready to put my second battalion into a movement tray, so we're going to be creating the movement tray for that today using this one, and this has an internal gap of 20mm deep by 60mm frontage. The outsides, the actual bit that is here, is only 5mm thick, deep. So essentially you've got 5mm around each side. So in total, this measures 30mm by 70mm. So let's look at the first stage in, the first step is to get this. The second is to mount that onto the base, because otherwise when we put our figures into this movement tray, they wouldn't go with it. So we need to put something on the bottom. And for this, I've chosen a very thin material, which is a magnetic sheet. Now this came off Amazon. I will put a link to the product below in the description, and all we're going to do is we're going to use some super glue to stick this onto this sheet. Once we've done that, we'll cut it out. So I'm going to go away and do that, and then I'll come back with the ready for the next part of the tutorial. Okay, and welcome back. So that has taken me almost 30 seconds. I mean, it was a very quick process. Now, it should be noted at this point that it's important to stick it onto the matte side. If you stick it onto the shiny side, then you'll be sticking it onto the magnetic side. Now, the advantage of these movement trays with being magnetic on the bottom is what you could do is take a sheet of this, turn it upside down so the shiny side is sticking up or facing up, and you could glue it to the bottom of your boxes that you carry your figures around, and that would essentially mean that you could move your box around without figures flying all over the place. And I may well do that on this project, although noting that they are 6mm, they're not very tall. Once you've got a lot of figures in there, they probably won't move, but that's another conversation for another day. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my craft knife, and I'm just going to cut very close to the edges so that it's flush, and we'll just cut this out. And then we'll come back ready for the next stage where we'll be sanding the base. Okay, so having cut this out away from the main sheet and trimming the edges just so that I don't have any overhang, it's now time to essentially add some sharp sand to the outside of the movement tray. We obviously want to keep it from the getting on the inside because that's where the other bases are going to go, and we don't really want anything to be uneven in there. We want the bases to sit flat. Now, for sticking the sharp sand down, this is pretty simple. Most people will have done this before, but for those who maybe are new to the hobby, I'm going to be using Mod Podge, which is just a PVA glue, and I'm going to be using some sharp sand. This is just out of a bag of sharp sand, which I've put into this plastic container. I dry it out in the conservatory, and then it's good to use. So I'm going to put glue all the way on the top of the outside of this, and then put some sharp sand on, and then I'll come back ready for the next stage. Okay, and welcome back. So the sharp sand has gone on. That's taken me all of about a minute, if that. And the next stage is essentially to let that dry. Once it's dry, we're then going to use our usual base color that we would use for the bases that the figure's on. And once that's painted on and dry, then I will be dry brushing it and then flocking it. So I'm going to go away and do the painting part of it because, again, it's pretty simple. You just paint it on. I choose to paint the edges of my bases the same as the ground color. Other people have different opinions and different views. Some will paint them black, some will paint them like a green to fit in with the tablecloth or the table mat that you're gaming on. It's really down to personal choice. So I'm going to go away and do that and the dry brushing, and then I'll come back. We'll talk very quickly about the flocking, but essentially I'm going to add paint. I'm going to add glue, and then I'm going to sprinkle some scatter down. So I'll get this dry, get this painted, and I'll be right back. And welcome back. So I have painted and dry brushed the base, and as you can see there, it's looking quite nice before I dropped it. So the next thing up is to use some Mod Podge again, and we're going to be scattering a little bit of fine turf on this. Now you could also add tufts. I haven't actually got any, and at the moment I'm sort of going for a look without the tufts. I might change that, might come back and do it at a later date. But the fine turfs I'm using are the Woodland Scenics ones, and they are these two: fine turf green grass and fine turf burnt grass. So I will go away and get these done, and then we'll come back with the final movement tray in its entirety. So back in a flash. Okay, and we're back with the final finished movement tray, and here you can see I've just added a couple of blends of fine turf there. It's fairly subtle. There is the green grass and the burnt grass in there, and I think it just adds a nice bit of variation. And of course, if we take the figures and put those in here, then we can see it looks really good. And I've just gone about doing all the there you go, so we get a bit of a closer look there. But I've done the bases of the figures in the same way I've done the movement tray, and I think it blends in really nicely. So there we have it. Obviously need to go away and put the colours on the various flagpoles there, so that it looks much like this one. But I think you'll agree both look very similar. They'll be interchangeable and they'll be absolutely fine, and they'll look really, really nice. So that's going to do it for this short and sweet video. Hopefully you found it useful. As I say, links in the description below, and I will also put the measurements of the different bases, the movement trays that I've got ordered in the description below, so you can see those. Now, next week we'll be probably heading back to my Lord of the Rings in 2mm project, because I've got some pieces on the workbench as we speak, and they should be ready to be showcased next week. So looking forward to getting those in front of the camera for you. But as always, big thank you to you all for your support, for the views, the subscriptions, not the subscriptions, the subscriptions, and the comments. It all makes a big difference to the channel. So until next time, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.